mainly, yeah,
Yeah,
mainly, yeah.
Sorry, I switched on the recording if you don't mind.
Yeah, it's perfect. Yeah. Mainly focusing in my case in some European markets. But now, of course, GoCamp was asking me to do this training, and I will be very glad to perform the training. And I will please, I would like to have this as an open discussion. So if you want to ask, just interrupt me. If you want to mention something, please let me know. And it will be much more fruitful if we have an open discussion during the training. And yeah, I will. That's it.
Okay. So then I will introduce briefly the attendees. So we have you may see the name, but it is not necessary that there is only one person behind the name. So I will introduce you the companies. So we have a company from Kazakhstan, which is Energoscan, our largest partners in CIS countries. Then we have a company called New Format from Tashkent. Then CBM Tashkent, that is Uzbekistan. So then we have also on the call CBM Engineering from Azerbaijan, and that's it. House is full. So all guys, all companies, business have been so far selling FLIR cameras for many years. So some of the people new to acoustic cameras, but Energoscan, they have already been using our demo and selling our cameras for more than a year now. Yeah. So the level of expertise is a little bit different, but I think you'd rather start from scratch because we have time. Yeah.
Okay. Yeah, let's do that. I will basically now share my screen, but I don't use Zoom so much, so I need to check share screen. Right, guys, you can see my screen.
Yes.
Yeah. So this is like a acoustic solution training, as you know. Welcome to the discussion and training. But let's say that for simplifying, even though there are a couple of more older solutions in the market, we will focus in the two differentiated solutions: the Si124 LD Plus, which is dedicated to compressor leak detection and gas, different gases detection, and then the Si124 for partial discharge detection, right? So the training, I will dismiss this. So the training is going to be structured like this. So we have we'll talk generally about acoustic solutions. Then we will focus on the LD Plus solution for leak detection. Then we will go into the partial discharge detection. Then we will talk a little bit about analytics and software. And then we will have a little bit of competitor comparison. So all this documentation can also be shared with you later on, so no worries. There are so many things that are maybe like so deep in tech that if you have questions that I might not be able to answer, hopefully I can answer everything, almost everything. But if I am not able to answer something, I will actually come back to you with the right answer. Of course, I have like experts here that can actually help me on building the right answers for you. So what we are talking about here is, there is a problem. There is a kind of a phenomena and we have a solution for it, right? So assets emit certain type of sound, as you know. The sound is prior to other phenomena like vibration or temperature change. And with our cameras, we are able to isolate the right sounds, discriminate the sounds that are not relevant for the, for what we're looking for, and analyze what is the sound source, where it is located. And in the case of partial discharges and the case of leaks, we are able to give analytics that actually go much deep in tech on the nature of the sound. So if I will share this very basic graphic here. So what you can see, as I was mentioning, that the sound, as actually the inaudible sound, is prior to vibration thermography, like the change of temperature when thermographic cameras can take into work. Audible noise and contact heat, naturally. Inaudible sound is referring in this case to ultrasound. Our cameras, as just to point out, are able to locate and to find sounds that are in the ultrasound range and also in the audible frequency range. So we are actually covering from ultrasound to audible sound, right? We are like together with FLIR, we have been via our international channels, we have been already working for a few years with these cameras, and we are able to say that we are most of the verticals and industries, and we have a lot of very well-known customers, and some of them are actually giving a very intensive use of our solutions. Just to mention a couple of them, I'm actually quite familiar. We can claim that Airbus, for example, Atlas Copco are really big customers for us. They're really important, and we are working with them in continuous basis because they are excellent references as well. Now we go to the LD Plus, right? So LD Plus solution, as I mentioned, is for air, compressor, and gas detection, right? So we market only the compressor because the reason is that we have an optimized solution for compressor leaks, but for other gases, even knowing that the camera is able to find the leaks, and that will depend so much on the leak pressure and the size, we don't have yet an optimized solution that will actually give further calculations. But in any case, we can claim that the camera is being used by many customers on other gases detection. But anyway, focusing on the compressor, compressor covers like 10% of all the energy consumption. I mean, these are like basically data from like official data, and is the most expensive utility. As you see that there's 40–50% of compressor is wasted to their leaks, and this is of course like it will depend so much on the industry, but it's true that where they use compressor massively, they actually have a lot of leaks all over the circuits. In large factories, this means like losses equals to, as I said, like 100,000 euros per year. I have a few examples of customers that they actually have, due to the increase of the energy consumption, the energy cost, and the amount of compressor they are using and the leak they traditionally had, they have actually a much higher cost than this in terms of financial losses. And yeah, for smaller facilities, of course, they also have lost, losses in terms of compressor leaks. I will now play this video. I hope it can be listened. Please let me know if you can hear the sound, and then we continue from here.
Yes, we hear.
Okay.
Okay. David, I have a suggestion. Maybe it is better for you to switch off your own video because it's bandwidth. When you run the other video, it's kind of, shaky.
Okay.
So I suggest you switch off the camera.
Yeah, of course.
That's all.
Yeah, it makes a lot of sense. Wait a second. I will switch off my camera. And then I go back to the presentation. Do you want me to play the video again? Hello?
I think it was okay, David. No need. Just
no need to play it again.
Get along.
Okay. Okay, we are talking about now the LD Plus, as I mentioned before. So the benefits is, so we have all the driving smart functionalities that are actually common in our cameras. Basically, in brief, we have in the LD Plus is a kind of a break-in features. We have the auto distance, so automatically detects the distance between the leak source and the camera. This is actually working up to 5 meters. It's good to know this. If you go for a distance higher than 5 meters, you actually need to estimate the distance in the camera screen. It's a pretty easy and intuitive way of doing it, just like a press, like 5, 10, 25 meters. It's a ball figure to give an estimation to the camera. But up to 5 meters, the camera is automatically calculating the distance. And then we have the auto filtering. So basically, in the previous versions, and actually also in this version, you can select manually 3 different filters. That is already a much more simple. Sorry,
David.
David,
I think
you don't share the screen. David, sorry.
I'm not sharing.
No.
Yeah, sorry.
Yeah, now it's back.
All right, I apologize for this again.
No problem.
Yeah. So as I mentioned, auto distance, I guess this is fine. It's like selecting or calculating the distance up to 5 meters, and after 5 meters, you just need to give a ball figure to the camera. And then we have the auto filtering. The auto filtering basically is a totally hassle-free solution. So you just need to start using the camera. You have the auto filter, and the camera will select the right filter that relates to the frequency that the camera is selecting, or the best frequency for the specific leak. So this will actually give you much more quality of detection and analytics, and is you know, it's a feature that simplifies a lot the process. So basically, in comparison to other brands that are, you need to select the frequency range and be playing with it, or select different filters. We have a much more simple to use solution. And then, of course, it saves money and improve energy efficiency. So, like, it will show you exactly what the leak is, and helps to lower production cost. I will say that there is like here is pinpoint, like it's saying that it's pinpointing the very small leaks, and it's faster and more accurate than other leak detectors and methods. But I would also like to point out here that that is not only helping to lower production costs, but in the specific industries, for example, in low grammage paper, production, this compressor detection might be fundamental, crucial for the quality of the end product. So basically, if you're having leaks, that might actually have a negative impact in the quality of the product you are actually delivering, or you are potentially delivering to the end customers. So this is also having a positive impact if you are decreasing the number of leaks and you are minimizing the leaks in your production process, in the quality. So yeah, data for maintenance, repair plans, and is compatible with ISO 50001 for reporting, and naturally speeds up audits and requires minimal training. Here, basically, I would say two things. The training is almost not needed. So basically, anyone can take the camera. You just give a couple of explanations, and they can take the camera and start finding leaks, and they will be able to record the snapshots and the videos and get all the information needed for the decision making. And then, yeah, of course, there are some of you that has been already working with the camera. And as you know, the camera has a frontal, has a frontal camera and the 124 microphones. And basically, with the frontal camera, you can scope large areas, depending on the distance, actually, quickly, and know where the leaks are without the need of going point by point, corner by corner in the facilities. So it's actually accelerating or dynamizing very much the audits. So practical considerations to remember. Well, I mean, it's this when starting the camera in the starting wizard, it's always good to specify the currency, the specific power, and the energy cost. The energy cost, I will always recommend to use a general energy cost for the country, for the region, and then of course, when you are in front of a customer, I always ask to the customers what is the energy cost more or less they have, so we can actually update it in the camera, and they will get on a screen the leak cost calculation updated to their own cost. So that's actually quite nice to show. And then, of course, when you find a leak, you set the distance. If it's needed, if it's more than 5 meters, and then you will get a really accurate cost calculation. Then we have the multi-source and the single source mode. This is something to be seen in the camera rather than here, but there is a button there in the central left side of the screen, where you can actually select if you want to see different leak sources or one leak source. So if you select different leak sources, the camera will actually point out or pinpoint all the leak that is detecting, or the leaks. And if you put single source, the camera will focus only in the bigger one, right? In the more relevant one. And then when it comes to the filters, I wouldn't go so much farther in here. So basically the camera is working from 2000 to 65,000 Hertz. There are 3 different filters that you can, when you are having the filter feature on, you can select SLM or ultra or high filter, and those are actually helping you to select what is the best filter for every leak. But since we have the auto filter, I will just go to the auto filter because actually it's much more precise than this. And basically, just as to remember, no matter what filter you're using, the camera will find the leaks. But we always recommend to start with the SLM if you want to have the manual filter selection. And then you play a little bit with the other 2 ones. You have the auto filter selection, as I said, no need of doing anything. Just the camera just will find the best frequency for this specific leak, right? Well, I've been talking already about the auto distance, but you know, I don't think we need to go much deeper in here, but we need to. To the lake, auto distance automatically measures the distance to the lake source for real-time reliable lake rate estimates. As I said, is up to 5 meters, 16 feet, and of course, if you want to select the distance manually, you can still do it. You can turn off the feature of the auto filtering and select the distance manually. So it's actually the customer, so up to you. So auto filtering, I wouldn't make it so complicated. It's better to have always the auto filtering on, unless there is a very specific requirement for having manual filtering. And the filter will automatically determine the best filter to use or the best frequency range to use. And this actually help the camera to have a very low detection threshold, as we mentioned earlier. As I said, I will say that it's the best performing acoustic camera, and on this year we have been working in the market, and we have been getting a lot of feedback from customers, and we are very glad on the camera performance. It's extremely easy to use, and this is something that we take as a big advantage. But naturally, sometimes when you are speaking with acoustics experts, I will say that you might find people that is a bit reluctant to believe that the camera is able to do all these things without any manipulation. So those are actually hard potential customers. We had a lot of discussions with many of them. You know, when you visit a customer and they put in front of you a couple of acoustics doctors. But we can actually prove that the camera is working well. You just need to take the camera, start using it with them, play with it, and you will be able to convince them. But as I said, it's like the easy to use or the easiness of use of the camera has a counterpart, which is that some people can get a skeptic about it. So I would recommend to have longer discussions with them and try to find out what are the source of the skepticism, like why they don't believe in the camera calculations or in the camera findings, and we can prove them that the camera is doing the right job. It's a light camera. You can use it with one hand. It's a pretty handleable. The leaks are quantified in the screen. I have a chat here mentioned. The approx weight of the device. Yeah. I don't remember now. It's just less than 2 kilos. I need 1 kilo and something. I will check it later and I will share it with you. It's a light device. I think we have it in the technical specs. We will find it later in a slide. So we have a web-based and offline software. They are coming with the cameras. You don't need to pay any, or the customers don't need to pay anything. We always want the customers to use the web-based, our cloud. It's helping them. It's much better for them. and it's helping us. They will get the best solutions, the best features, up to date, and we will get a lot of data that will help us to get better and better calculations along the time. So I will push for the cloud to be used by customers. And then we, of course, have the FLIR Thermal Studio software that is compatible with the thermographic cameras, with the infrared cameras, and with our acoustic cameras. On that side, I will say that maybe we need to take another call for the. I have some slides here about the thermal studio, but I will say that maybe we need to take a call with a technical sales manager from FLIR and have a shared discussion with them in order to go through a thermal studio, because I'm not familiar enough to go very deep into it, and I think it's better for everyone that maybe we talk about the integration in the thermal studio with a joint discussion with another person. I'm sure that you even know more than I do about thermal studio, but in any case, yeah, it's compatible, and you can have the data in thermal studio as well.
Frankly speaking, David, for myself, I would love to use SI viewer cloud server.
The cloud, better
the cloud
than
is very nice. I mean,
it is very nice and very simple, right?
Very simple.
Yeah, it's we are actually improving it. I cannot disclaim so much, but we are working in improvements that will affect because there are some structural features in the cloud that are a bit. They are actually a bit slow for big use of the cloud with customers that have so many cameras in different locations, right, with different factories. And now we are working on an improvement that might help a lot and might dynamize a lot the management from top to the from top in the organization down into the inspection professionals. And well, hopefully we will have good news soon, and we will have an update in the cloud that will actually provide with even better features. Is there anything that you would like to mention here? Because you have been already selling the camera in the market. Do you want to mention something here about this benchmark?
So far, no. Well, the only maybe common question which is coming from most of our partners is, well, you may be knowing that our cash call product is FLIR optical gas imaging camera, for the customer who is interested in finding hydrocarbon leaks like methane, butane. So may you give your take on the question that if a partner, our sales channel partner, goes to the customer who needs a solution to find leak detection of hydrocarbons, do they need OGI camera and Si124 LD together, or I mean those kind of same solutions, or the solutions that different, and how they could compel each other if they use together? Do you have, what's your take on this?
Yeah. When we are talking about SF6, right? For example, in electrical,
it's rather to take hydrocarbons like methane, butane, this kind of, because SF6 it's a rare case when the cell camera.
All right, okay, I understand. Because then I have to say that the OGI cameras are the ones that you need to look for. This camera can detect leaks, but it will always depend, as I said, on the leak size and on the pressure that the leak is creating, right? So for those specific cases, I think we need to analyze them case by case. It's a bit difficult for me to give you a plain answer for this. I mean, I cannot say yes, you can use it for methane leaks, but I know that we have customers that are actually detecting methane leaks, right? For example. So I think it's rather something that when you have a specific cases where you can provide with the data, we can pass this data to our professionals in analytics and give you kind of an educated guess on if the camera is going to be able to work with those or not. We don't have specific calculations now or leak sizes as a threshold in the specs for those kind of cases yet, but we are working on those. So let's say that the time will come where we'll have in the specs thresholds of detection for different gases, and then you will be able to have a much more constructive discussion with customers where they will be able to determine with whether they want an OGI solution or they want the acoustic solution. But it's a bit difficult for me to reply to this. I'm sorry. I apologize for this. It's not a very straight answer, I know.
Because my understanding is that not each and any leaks has something to do with the acoustic, because if the pressure is low or the size of the leak is large, then there is no acoustic, like in that situation the camera would not be useful.
Well, if there is not acoustic, of course, there is not sound at all. But consider that ultrasound range, so it's not non-audible sound, might actually cover a lot of leaks that are not that we think that they are not creating any sound, right?
No.
So there is a little bit of a very slim limit there, where we can say that they can find leaks in different gases, in these specific gases, for example, but it has to be checked case by case. So yeah, you are right. I mean, so there are some specific leaks that don't create almost any kind of sound, right?
Yeah.
I think there is a question here. Well, there are two questions.
Yeah, the question from Ismail. Do you see that?
Yeah, it seems like this camera detects pressurized leaks only. Is it true? Yeah. Okay, I will share this. We have this in the specs. I will share this later on now, and you will see the, you will see the threshold or what is the level of pressure, right? Okay. And then there's another previous question about the air leaks or any other two. Yeah, we find other gases leaks. The camera can find other gases. For example, we saw a camera to British Steel. I was with them in Scunthorpe in the UK, doing it was half a day of measurements and visiting a very large facility they have there in the north of England, and we had they didn't have any interest in the compressor leak. They use a really little compressor in some specific places, but not relevant. So we were looking for many different gases that they're using in British Steel. And the camera was actually performing really well for all the leaks that they were guessing they have. Camera was actually giving them relevant information about the leak, the leak location. There were some leak suspicions that they thought that there might be a leak there because there is a little bit of a stain in this pipe, and the camera was actually discarding some of them really nicely. So the camera worked with other gases, yes. And also steam leaks, but this, when we need to go into the detection thresholds and pressure and so on with other gases, we don't have a specification written yet. So we just need to go case by case, and that's why it's very important to visit the customers if it's possible and do on-site demonstrations and check with them if the camera is actually giving a good service to them, right, to their needs. Would you share application information? What is the, yeah, we will share now later. I have, this is a much longer presentation. We can talk about it. and then we can share the data sheets. Do you think that we can share the data sheets afterwards via email? Or do everyone have the data sheets of the cameras?
I think the data sheets available on our website.
Yeah, they should be. Yeah, they are.
Should be there.
Because there is when we have all the detection thresholds and everything.
Hello, David. My name is Ayagul. I'm from an Energiscan company from Kazakhstan.
Hello.
I would like, I'm sorry, it's too, long to print. So I would like to ask if you have any kind of, like application information or any presentations that can be used, while we are presenting the device to our end users, to our customers. It will be very helpful. Because we have the brochures on the website, but actually they're not that informative as we want it to be.
Okay.
And during the third event in Valencia, Anna showed us, like the prototypes of application brochures where will be indicated the information where this camera can be used. For example, on the food sites or how to assembling facilities or something like this. So it will be very useful for us, like when we are going to the customer, we can, just for sure tell them that this camera can be used, and we already have the experience of using this camera there and there, and it showed itself like this. So thank you.
Is it okay if because we have a number of customer use cases with or customer experience descriptions? Is it okay if I share them with Dimitri afterwards, and then he can share it with everyone?
Yeah, that's totally fine.
Okay, because then my only question will be, I need to check with marketing is whether those cases are having the NL Acoustics branding or the FLIR branding. But well, they need to be FLIR branded naturally. So I will need to double check, but I will share them with you, of course. Yeah, yes, we do have cases like this.
We need to discuss it with Daryl. Daryl Taylor, he's the guy. I think we
exactly. Yeah. No. I mean, they need to be, because we are in an integration process, so everything will be FLIR branded soon, but not yet. Yeah, but we will provide with all this information. I have more questions here. Yeah, support FLIR here. Yeah, great. Yeah, okay, I see. Thank you. Okay, now we will go to talk about the partial discharge detection assessment, and then we have a little bit more information later about the the cloud and so on. So the acoustic camera. I don't know if this is not moving, right? Can you hear me?
Yes.
Yeah, somehow my screen is frozen. So, now, okay. Yeah, good. Sorry for this. Well, so the rectifiers, this is of course in the worst of the cases, but they can actually create accidents and big problems. There are actually, many of them are related to partial discharges that actually develop in a bad way, right? So the invisible and inaudible, in many cases, partial discharges are very often an indication of a problem, of an insulation failure. So I guess you are familiar with the phenomena, but basically it means that the electricity is moving around places where it shouldn't be, right? So that's why they are called partial discharges. Of course, they lose, they cause power loss, electromagnetic interference, noise complaints in some cases where you have, for example, a substation close to houses and the substation is creating a lot of noise because there are many different parts of the chargers in audible range, and they create kind of a vibration sound like, and this is really, it can be really bad for the people who is living around. And as we said, they can lead to catastrophic failures. I will play now the video. Is that okay for everyone? Yeah. Okay, I have more questions here. Okay, no questions. Yeah. So practical considerations to remember. So the camera is actually having a very similar function in that the LD Plus camera for leak detection. So it has the multi-source. For example, if you are in a substation, it's very recommendable to start with the multi-source, where you can actually find if there are different parts of the chargers, for example, in isolators that are in parallel, and then go one by one of the different parts of the charger that is found changing into single source, and the camera will discriminate the smaller ones and will go to the most fundamental, the most important one. And then you need to be like taking snapshots of every one of them. This has to be something shown to customers because it will actually help them to understand how thoroughly they can actually analyze what is the status of the facility, right? So this is very important. So reflections, this is also affecting to leaks. You might find reflections. I will say reflections are a friend for you, also in the leak side. So if you find a reflection, it means that there is a leak somewhere. It is creating a reflection. Naturally, we need to apply a lot of common sense here. Sometimes you find a reflection in the floor or in a wall, and you naturally need to be able to discriminate and say, okay, this is a wall. There is not a partial discharging here. We need to find the PD that is creating this reflection, right? And that's something that the camera is not doing yet. So the camera is actually showing the reflections. But I ask you for being like applying a lot of critical, kind of common sense, critical eye for this, and show the customers that it's actually really easy to discriminate the reflections from the leaks or from the partial discharges. The camera is working with surface partial discharges, right? But in many cases, you will face customers that they ask you to try to find partial discharges inside cabinets, like electrical cabinets and transformers. And in both cases, there is not a very kind of 100% clear answer, but I have to say that basically, as a general reference, in cabinets, the camera will be able, in many cases, to find if there is partial discharge without the need of opening the cabinet, because they have in the joint of the doors slots, the sound can actually stick out from there. the camera can find it. So the camera will actually show that there is a sound coming out from the door side, but doesn't mean that the partial discharge is located there. It means that there is something inside that the camera is locating, and the sound is coming from there. So basically, you need to open the cabinet. Naturally, opening a cabinet, electrical cabinet, is a risky thing. You need to be very careful. It has to be always opened by experts, and they need to be sure that they can open it, because it's not something that you can do so easily. Then in terms of transformers, if the partial discharges are superficial or surface partial discharge, the camera will find it. If they are kind of close to the surface of the transformer, the camera can find them potentially. If they are deep inside the transformer, the camera will not find the partial discharges. But still, if you have the chance to check transformers, I will always say that it's relevant to check transformers in customer premises. The reason is that finding a partial discharge in a transformer is a sensitive thing. It's a sensible thing, sorry for them. So if there are partial discharges, they are often critical or serious ones. And it's really good for the customers to know whether they are some partial discharges, even though they are not finding 100% of them because they may have some internal PDs, but at least give a try to it, because I think it's really, really enlightening for customers to find that the camera can find partial discharges in transformers. I have found actually partial discharges in transformers in big organizations, facilities, and they are always very convincing to customers, because they see that, okay, this is showing me something that can be critical, it can lead to a big accident. On the other hand, it will be also very often that you find, or very common that you will find partial discharges in electrical lines or in substations, that they are harmless, they are very low in criticality level. But it's good to know where they are. They can actually evolve into bad ones. But that's another thing that you will face. You will face customers that say, hey, I mean, you found 5 partial discharges, but they are all very harmless. So there's nothing, nothing to worry about. Why I should buy the camera? That's a very good question, I have to say. Then you will need to face what is the use they want to give? What are the different components they want to check? Maybe they have some other, like, as I said, transformers, substations where they want to check. How critical for them is to actually follow them up. This will be like a little bit on the limit. Some customers will buy the camera depending on the size and their internal policies, and some of them would say, okay, maybe I don't need this camera, and maybe I just buy services from a service provider, which is, by the way, another interesting industry for you, like to sell the cameras to those local service providers that are actually looking for partial discharges or looking for leaks. This is working in a similar way. So we have 3 filters. This camera has no auto filtering. It will not have any auto filtering. So basically the camera will find the partial discharges, but in any of the 3 filters, but I recommend you to select the one that is showing a better image of the partial discharge on a screen. And that will be the one I will use to take the snapshots and the videos of the partial discharge. Yeah, well, of course, we have a dual camera, which is combining air and power mode. In the case of if you're having a dual camera, which is something that Dimitri can actually explain about if you're not familiar with, please check that you are using the correct camera mode, otherwise the information won't be accurate. No. Yeah, main use cases for partial discharge. Well, the camera is extremely well suited for early stage partial discharge detection, classification, and insulated substations and transmission, distribution, and generation, as it says here. Like use cases of damage or polluted insulators, bushings, cable ends. For example, you will realize that if there is a PD in a cable end or cable termination, or in a broken strand, for example, you will realize that the camera is giving you a high criticality in many of those cases because they are sensible, right? So that's something that we need to go through now, but there's basically, from a point of view, camera, the most valuable feature of the camera is not exactly the location of the partial discharge, because that's something that often the professionals that work, for example, in a substation, they know more or less where there are PDs. They know their facilities and they can even hear them sometimes and so on. But this is actually the criticality assessment, the classification of the partial discharge, and the recommendations that we give in the cloud. That's why Dimitri was mentioning that the cloud is very, very, very important and very nice to use. Yeah, of course, we also mentioned the overhead lines and for distribution and transmission. The camera is still well suited, yeah, for leakage of pressurized gases. If it has the gas detection or the air and gas detection, but I will say that we need to be careful with this statement. I will always be very careful with this because the leak size has to be relevant. For example, when we are talking about SF6, the leak size has to be very relevant in order for the camera to find it. And those SF6 leaks at that level, talking about at this moment, maybe over 15 kilos per year, those are rare. They are too big. So yeah, you can find them, but I will be careful with this. I mean, I wouldn't be selling, I wouldn't use this as a selling point for the camera. Yeah, of course, the PD metal enclosed feature, this is very, very interesting as a use. We have some customers that, for example, as Ormazabal or other companies that are like big industrial companies that are using this for this. And then the challenging applications. Well, as I mentioned, there's a GIS gas insulated switchgear. Yeah, of course, here it was like, okay, I was crossing information, but basically, as you can understand that for gas insulation as SF6, it's a bit challenging or quite challenging. So we will be very careful. And as I mentioned before, internal discharges inside components are like in transformers, for example, are very, very challenging. So case by case, visiting customer premises and trying to find out if the camera is giving a good, service to them. So benchmarking, the camera is again, we can claim this because we have been working with many customers. So we are very happy to say that we have maybe the best performing camera. I wouldn't say maybe, we have the best performing camera. It's very easy to use. I will give you the weight later on. We have the specs here. As you know, it's 100, and it's not a small thing. Like many customers give to this a very big importance. So they think that it's important to have one free hand, and you don't need to be holding the camera with both hands. So it locates the partial discharges in the screen. But for me, the most important thing is that it is partial discharge. It gives you the typology of the partial discharge. It gives you the severity assessment and the failure recommendations. And this is actually what I consider our most important features, right? So you will see it in the cloud if you haven't seen it before. So now we are going to analytics and software for leaks. Now we are moving back to the previous camera, right? Before this, is there any question about the PD camera, about the power camera? Not yet? All right. Okay, now we are going into the analytics and software in the leaks, right? As I said, recognize the sound leaks on the camera, detects and pinpoints one or more leaks simultaneously, automatically displays the leak size and the cost estimation for compressor leaks. In the camera, please always check the cost of the electricity for the compressor production. Present the sound level that also indicates the leak size more or less. But of course, you will have the leak size on the screen. And then we have the PDF reporting in the cloud where the most important features are related on the classification of the different findings and from the inspections, and then PDF and CSV files downloading. And that's actually quite nice to reuse with customers. You can even add the logo of a customer you have visited and then print the reports of the different findings in the, in the demonstration facility. And is a kind of a very nice thing to show to potential customers. Okay, analytics and software in partial discharges. Find the PDS, as I said, like it's the same as with the leak detection. So it finds individually and simultaneously different partial discharges on the screen. It shows the partial discharge pattern. You need to be a big expert in order to recognize the patterns and determine from the pattern what kind of partial discharge it is. The camera will give you, not the camera, sorry, the cloud will give you that information anyway. There's a kind of the type or the typology of the partial discharge, but you can actually show and see the pattern in the screen. So my recommendation is sometimes the camera is giving you some pinpointing something in for example, in an isolator or somewhere, which is it looks like a partial discharge on the screen. And in order to recognize this as a partial discharge, I always will wait until the pattern is shown. There is a small box in the camera screen where you will see the pattern shown. You can actually extend it and you can see it there. And then is when you can say, okay, here we got a partial discharge. The camera is actually, as we said, is discriminating all the non-relevant sound, but always apply common sense for this use. Like you have the pinpointing and the pattern, and then you can say, okay, this is a partial discharge. This displays in the cloud the signal, the FFT, the autocorrelation, the spectrogram. Is something that you can actually provide to acoustics experts if customers have some of them. As I said, downloadable PDF reporting and CSV files, adjustable parameters and software, PD location element, distance, and voltage. Please, voltage and location element are fundamental for the qualitative analysis and the severity assessment. So it's not the same to have a partial discharge in a bushing than in an isolator, than in transmission cable or in a cable termination. So that's fundamental. If you are not so familiar with the components, when you find a partial discharge, I will always recommend you to ask to the customer that you're visiting, because they need to know what is every one of the elements. You have PD somewhere in a substation, and you don't know exactly what is that, the name of the component. I mean, please ask the customer; they should know. And of course, you can do it in a way that you don't find out. Maybe you are not I don't know. I mean, but I'm just saying that if you don't know the name, please ask about it. Because it will help you to give a really good reporting to the customer. And then qualitative analysis. So it gives you what kind of surface partial discharge, floating partial discharge, corona partial discharge. And then severity assessment, fundamental. How critical is the partial discharge, and further recommendations. And this is actually a very big selling point for us. This is something that no one is giving, or no one is giving, at least at the level we are giving it. This is covering both cameras. So we are giving partial discharge types in the power camera, as you know, like Si124 dual and Si124 PD. So we give you like whether it's a negative corona, positive and negative coronas, mixing, floating discharge, a surface or internal discharge. Automatic severity assessment also in this, like in the dual camera, in the power mode, and in the PD camera. Severity assessment, classification of the partial discharge, description of the partial discharge, and recommended action. In the graph side, signal FFT autocorrelation spectrogram is also related to the power mode on the dual camera and the partial discharge camera. Then downloadable reports, this is affecting to both cameras and the partial discharge side, and the leak detection and Excel and CBS are for both cameras, right? For both, I mean, for partial discharge and for leak, the leak camera. And the estimated leak size and the annual cost, this is just related to the LD plus, the LD, which is the previous model. I don't think you will be selling this model in the market. And the Si124, which is the dual mode that has leak detection mode and partial discharge. But yeah, leak size and annual cost are really important features as well for our camera. Well, yeah, this is what we are showing in the online viewer. We can actually show it later on. We can share this presentation with you, no worries. I don't think we need to go so much into detail here. Maybe I will mention a couple of things. The camera downloads the data. You can download the data. You can take the data from the camera, the screenshots, the snapshots and the videos that you are taking in an inspection. You can take it via USB, right? The camera can also work with the Wi-Fi. You have the Wi-Fi in the office, you connect the camera and the camera will upload automatically to your cloud all the snapshots. And those are the main two ways of taking the data from the camera, right? So uploading into the cloud, taking it from USB, and they will depend so much what the customer needs and requirements and security kind of restrictions they have, that they will need to be using one or another. The cameras are always coming with two USB sticks, so you will be able to use the ones that are there. If the customer cannot use the cloud, they can install a basic version of the software in their computer as a standalone solution, so they will not be breaking any kind of internal kind of like security regulation using the cloud. What is the advantage? Sorry, I'm going through the question here. What is the advantage of acoustic camera comparing to other types of PD cameras? For example, well, I mean, I will say that the big advantage is that we are able to find the PDs before. For example, in the case of infrared, we're able to find the leaks before they represent any change of temperature. So the PDs are still in a very early stage, and you can actually follow them up, and you can actually have a more preventive maintenance on those, because you will have the information much earlier, and you will be able to to give them a proper kind of follow up. So yeah, I would say that's the main difference in between them. Then the languages, as you can see here, we have a number of languages. So of course, I don't know, it will depend so much on the users, but you see that there are some languages that might be actually quite relevant for you. So the camera, software, firmware, and the cloud and the materials, even though the materials we need to double check always, like with for example, the use cases are not in all these languages, but the camera, firmware, the software, and the cloud are in all these languages, and that's something that we can say, and the customers can use this product fully in any of these languages listed here, right? Yeah. Well, as I said, I won't go so much into the plugin for the Thermal Studio. but maybe just to mention that, as I said, the USB stick, downloading or taking the data from the USB stick directly from the camera is something that many customers use for different reasons, and is located in here. As you can see here, there is kind of a slot in there. You open it, and then you can put the USB stick and do the taking off. So now we will go to the cloud. I will give me a second. I will open it. It's always the same. I always forget my I think I should have it. Yeah, good. Yeah. This is what you see in the cloud. Can you see my screen still? Yeah. Right. So basically, you will see this classification of the different snapshots. You can see that, just to go to an example here, you can see that this is a leak I found, right? This is not a PD. And you will find this, you can label them, you can add some details information, like found, whatever. You save the changes, and this will actually be found in there, in the kind of in the main screen. This is a leak. So basically the analytics on this leak, well, this is not a good example because we don't have any analytics, but I will, you can add tags. For example, for classification matters, you can add the different plans that you have, and you can add comments in every one of the leaks. I will try to find another leak that is more relevant because this is not having any information. Yeah, these are partial discharges. Let me check if I have any nice relevant leak to show. Yeah, I mean, the reason, this is in British Steel, the reason why they are not analytics in terms of leak size and calculation of the cost is because this is not compressor, right? But you will get this, and you will be able to download this into generate an a report, and you can generate a joint report with different leaks. You can download into Excel file. Let me check. I will find a leak that has can show Alexa. I don't know why this is actually not mine, because we have shared cameras. Yeah, this will have a leak size. Yeah, right. This is a good one. This is a compressor leak, right? So the estimated leak size in this case is 11 liters per minute, and then we have like 344 users per year. This is not a very relevant leak. It's not a big one, but as you can see, you will have the leaks shown in here like this. So the customers will be able to access to the cloud and see all the leaks they have been finding, right? Whether they are normal other gases than compressor, and they will be able to locate them, or they are, or they are compressor leaks, and they will be able to locate where they are and have the estimated leak size and the annual cost, which is shown on a screen. That's very important. You can label them. You can say, for example, label them for a section in a factory. You can say that this is in the manipulation area. This is in the production area. So you can actually have a proper labeling of the leaks, and then when you are looking at them, you can check, okay, how many leaks I found last week in the production area in the factory, and then you will be able to find them. And these are all compressor leaks, as you can see. And this is the way the camera is showing them, right? As you can see, you can actually listen the leak. And as I said, if you, for example, want to create a report, you do this, for example, I selected this, and I want to create a report. generate a report where I say that I can put the logo of the customer. And I create a report like this, right? Okay. So this is the kind of report that we are creating.
David, I have a question. Is it possible to play around with the currency? Like, for example, the guy from Uzbekistan will tell you the currency, the local currency, and the cost for energy in Uzbekistan.
Yeah.
Will you be able to recalculate the losses?
Yeah, absolutely. In the camera, in settings,
Yeah.
in leak settings, you can select the currency, okay, that you are using and the units as well.
Can you show how it works for any particular example, like for Uzbekistan? This particular leaks.
I need to look for a camera because I think I need to show it in screen. Is it okay if yeah, I can. I think I can share it later on. I can because I don't have a camera now by me.
Okay.
Let me check if I can find a camera. Right? Give me a second.
You need a camera for this. You may not to play around in the cloud itself without the camera.
In the cloud, you mean?
Yeah.
Yeah, I don't think I can. I think the camera has to be showing the camera has to be including the currency.
Oh, it is initially needs to be set in the camera. Then
yeah, it has to be set in the camera. As you can see, you can select the distance or correct the distance and the humidity and the energy cost, but you cannot change here well, I'm now really hoping I'm wrong, but I think as in the cloud you cannot change the.
Yeah, you cannot change it in the cloud because I tried it and it didn't work. So
no, it's in the camera.
Okay,
it's in the camera. Naturally. Well, let's put it in this way: if you're in Uzbekistan, you will basically set one currency and you a certain units that you feel comfortable with, right? In liters or whatever you want, and then you will not change it in the camera. I guess you are not changing it every day, so you do it once and that's it. But you are right; it has to be done in the camera. Yeah.
Okay.
It's really simple. I mean, you just need to go to settings and then leak settings, and then there you will find currency and units.
Okay. Thank you.
Yeah, I'm sorry for not being able to show it now. Then I will just show the partial discharge, which is maybe one of the most interesting things. Let's go first to a very harmless partial discharge, right? So you see here, we found this partial discharge, which is something that it was audible. I remember that we could listen it. You see the PD there, right?
Mm-hmm.
So the camera is showing it naturally. The analytics, so the type of partial discharge, it was a negative corona, which is often harmless, a little bit with positive and negative, because these phenomena are not like 100% classified. So you just need to, they are often a mixing of the phenomena, right? A little bit of floating, a little bit of positive corona. This is the pattern of the partial discharge, right? The acoustic pattern. We included here the location, which is, it was a bushing, it's very important, the voltage of the specific installation, right? And then it gives you the severity assessment. In this case, it's very low, the severity of this partial discharge, right? And the description is, as you see here, is classified as corona. Is in most cases, corona is harmless, and typically no action required here is set, as less unless there's a power loss or audible noise, which is actually an audible noise. But I don't think, I think the audible noise is more for like, problems with the neighbors or like people who is working around. And the deterioration of the nearby polymer insulators. Of course, if the insulators are being deteriorated, visibly deteriorated, then you need to take an action, right? This is one example of a harmless partial discharge. Now we will move into a bit more tricky. In the same visit, we were struggling because the customer was telling me that, well, the professional from the customer were telling me that, why we need to have these cameras for like a couple of corona discharges if they are not really harmful for us, right? So they had this, you can see that there is a bar here. They had this closed substation inside a building, a very old one, where we couldn't enter there because of security reasons, so it was not safe. But they said that we can. They said, well, okay, we can open this small. There were small windows up there that I had to actually be putting my arms up and trying to find out from the camera if there is something there. And we actually found this. These are cable terminations, right, in the substation inside, right? And we found this, and the criticality assessment was quite, worrying. It's just like it's a surface internal discharging, cable terminations, only 35 kilovolts, but still high severity. As you can see, there's likely to be a strong surface, internally charged surface, internally charged on cable termination and joints will progress over time and might rapidly escalate into a breakdown of the insulation. So basically it's telling that they need to clean. What happened with the customer was that they said, no, it's impossible. There cannot be a partial discharge in there. Because one of the technicians was telling me that we cleaned this facility, this building, the substation inside the building last summer. And of course, I was confused because then it's difficult for me. They say that we clean it and we check everything. So how I can say that, no, my camera is proving you wrong, right? But then another one from the customer, another person said, hey, but we clean it, but we didn't clean the whole substation because, as you know, shutting down a substation for a couple of days is very expensive. It's extremely expensive. So they basically started to clean, and at some point they said, hey, we need to restart it because this is, we're losing a lot of money. So basically they restarted it and they didn't clean this area by the windows. So the camera was totally right. Actually, they bought the camera in a week. And the camera was totally right and not did only find this one, but also found with the same conditions, this other partial discharge, which is even more severe, as you can see, very high, or high to very high. And it was actually, they were quite worried. They said, okay, we didn't include this end of the building, of the substation, and this might actually create a big problem to us if we don't take an action soon. So that's why I say that qualification and the analytics, the severity and the recommendations are very, very, very important for the customer, right? So these are, for example, you can see this is an example of a harmless partial discharge. You see, it's not even giving any information here. I think it's because it was so small. So there's a PD, but there was not given any. So there is not any severity here. But as you see, so okay, the camera can actually determine and find many partial discharges that are not severe at all, but then it can also find partial discharges that represents a problem to the customer. And that's actually a very good selling point. When we are talking about transformers, do you remember that we were discussing about, I was mentioning them. This is an example of, I think it was a sun transformer. a dry sand transformer. You know, a current transformer here, I didn't introduce the volts, I think it was 35. Anyway, but this is giving a very high severity, right? Because it's a transformer. So the camera can find partial discharge in the transformer. In this case, it's in the base of the transformer. And this was also, it was with a different customer. It was also actually very enlightening for them, because if the partial discharge is deep inside, kind of not much we can do. But in many cases, or in some cases at least, the partial discharges are also in the surface area, so they can be found by the camera, right? This is, for example, this is an example of, do you remember that we're talking about the cabinet joints? That if you cannot open the cabinet, like the camera will never give you a partial discharge inside the cabinet, because there is a barrier, there is the door, right? It's impossible for the camera because there is sound, and the sound is intercepted by the door. But in this case, it's often happening that if there is a PD there, the PD is shown in the joint of the doors, right? Because the sound is sticking out from there, it's leaving the inside the cabinet from there. So that's why the camera is sticking there. Of course, if you are able to open the cabinet, that we were not able to open the cabinet in this case, because they said that's not safe. You will be able to find what kind of partial discharge. In this case, there is not analytics because it's not a direct interception, but at least you know that there is something that at some point you will need to check, right? As I said, you can select the language. You can actually pair as many cameras as you want with the, you know, they have different cameras here with the different pair devices with a cloud. You can have like 10 accounts of different people in a factory that are actually paired with one camera or with different cameras. And everything that is inspected with one camera will go to all the accounts because the camera is actually paired with everyone. You will be able to print reports and download into Excel. Let's do a Excel downloading just to show it. I will select these three. It's a very basic downloading, but it can actually help to customers to do their own, you know, their own reportings. They can take the data from here. Okay, so you just need to, can you see my screen?
Yes.
You see the device, the severity numbers, the severity of the classification. You can do your own, you know, like for your own dashboarding, internal reporting in a company, then you can actually do your own calculations by downloading into Excel. So I think this is a really powerful feature, even though it's simple, because it can help companies that have certain kind of reporting processes to keep on using the camera and easily conveying this data and information into their own processes, right? Well, I think in this site, that's it. I will go back to the presentation.
May I ask a question, David?
Yeah.
That's about Thermal Studio. Well, from my experience and as to my view so far, the cloud service, which is Flare SI viewer, is kind of a little bit more user-friendly than Thermal Studio. But the problem is, and I think it is very common for most of the countries that, you know, we are discussing this product today in my region. Well, the issue is the security considerations. So the security guys, they're very much conservative about you know, the fact that the information about the infrastructure will go somewhere in the cloud. I mean, they will not. In many cases, in some they will, but in many cases they will not let it go. So for that purpose, we would suggest our customer to use Thermal Studio.
Yeah, yeah, I understand. There are two alternatives for those. One is to use the software, the standalone software, right? That is coming with the USB stick in the camera. It's similar to the cloud software. And it's you can install it in your own computer, and you are not having any information in any external cloud. That will be an option. Another alternative will be to do a on server, on the company server installation, right? Basically installing the cloud in a computer from the company, right? That has a license cost. The license cost is something that needs to be discussed with FLIR, because I'm not part of this, the licensing model. But I know that there is a possibility, but please explore it with a FLIR, like a person with this. There is a possibility of installing the cloud in the customer server, right? I have done it myself with some customers.
Oh, that could be just great.
Yeah, of course, they need to pay a price for the license, but they just install the software and they can actually do this, how's it called, remote viewers. So one computer or one server in the company is hosting everything, and then the other users are just connecting remotely to this server, and they can see internally, and there's no any kind of like information outside the organization.
Great.
But there is a possibility, at least if this is important for the customer, it's possible.
Yeah, that would be nice. So that kind request to everyone on the call, if you see any objections from the customer, if you face any objection that they have security considerations for uploading images to the cloud for processing, then there is a solution with extra licensing for having clouds locally.
Yeah, let's open the discussion then, and we will see how we can handle it. But this is possible. It's perfectly possible. I can mention that I have done it, for example, now in Spain with Nestle. The big food production company, and we install. Right, as Nestle is one of my customers, and we just install on server in the premises.
Okay, great. Thanks.
On server, sorry, the software on their own server in their premises. Yeah, but you understood what I meant. Yeah, so let's go to the competitor comparison. We will go quickly through this. I think we don't need to go so much in detail. Because this information can be shared, and then if there are specific questions, because I think this is more a dynamic discussion. So if at some point a customer says, yeah, but I'm discussing with Fluke or Distran or whoever, right? Or Crysound, then we need to check how we can help you in order to have a proper constructed discussion with the customer. Naturally, there are very good solutions in the market, and we need to respect them. But we have a very good competitive solution that will actually provide with the best possible output to the customers. As you know, there are so many old-fashioned detecting systems for leaks in this case. You remember maybe some of you that they were using even soap with water. And like checking where there is bubbling, they say, okay, there's a leak here. They were using also these conventional microphones, which is like a directional microphone, but this is very thorough because then you need to go point by point in the facility, in all the pipes, checking if there is a sound that might be like a leak. That this is really complex and really thorough and really time consuming. With our cameras, basically the camera is scoping a large area. Like, as I said, if you take 3-4 meters, you can be just moving the camera around, and the camera will quickly telling you whether there is a leak or not, or there is nothing in the camera showing there is no leaks. and then it will give you exactly the location of the leak and the calculations on the screen. So from this point of view, acoustic technology is the best performing in terms of leak detection. Actually, we can even claim that in like I don't know, 95, 98% of the cases, since our threshold is quite low already, detection threshold, the camera can work perfectly against even directional microphones, because there are some sniffers and directional microphones that can actually find really small leaks, especially sniffers for gases. But our camera is finding a large scope of the leaks that happen in the industry. So we can actually claim that we have the best solution for that. So yeah, as you can see, like 2 leaks in 5 minutes, I would say 5 minutes is not even needed, but of course you need to just walk around and find the leaks. So the distances, we didn't mention about the distances, but the distances are ideally like 10 to 15 meters indoors, 20 meters when it comes to leak detection, but it can work in longer distances, no problem, like 30, 40, 50, 60 meters. And then in partial discharge, the specs throw a 130 meters maximum distance, but it's actually kind of like, it can go farther. Of course, naturally 120 meters, 130 meters, it's a very long distance already for a leak. Sorry, for a partial discharge. But yeah, for transmission cables, in some specific cases, you might need to take and to inspect from really large distances, right? So yeah, this is, I don't think we need to go through this so, so much, but these are the different solutions that you have. Just to mention, like, this is cry sound. We have a battery that lasts for, like, we have 2 batteries in the hand of the camera that lasts for 2 hours and a half every one of them. So it's 5 hours of autonomy. The weight, you were asking about the weight, remember? 1 kilo, 25 grams, right? So 250 grams, sorry. We have the auto filtering, and we are working, from 2000 to 65,000 hertz. And just to mention, because there are other producers, other manufacturers in the market that actually go higher, as we can actually mention this in Fluke. Well, not this model, but there is another model of Fluke that I think is in the partial discharge comparison. There's another model of Fluke that goes over 65,000 hertz, as you can see. No, there's no mention here. But please, when any customer is telling you, yeah, but there is a competitor that goes over 65,000 hertz, this is very fundamental for us. We didn't go over 65,000 hertz because over 65,000 hertz, we consider that is not usability for the camera. So I explain myself. The sound over 65,000 hertz is behaving in a very random way. So it opens and spread really like, let's say, dramatically. So basically you need to place the camera so close, like maybe 5-10 centimeters from the leak source or from the partial discharge source, in order for the camera to select, to detect that sound. So since in partial discharge is impossible because you will die basically if you get so close to the leaks, to the partial discharge source, and there will be an accident, right? And in leaks, it's not, then you will use a sniffer. You don't want to be like working from 5 centimeters from everywhere in the, in the facility, because it's like, you will never finish your inspections. So basically we decided that over 65,000 hertz, we are not, there's no need of providing frequency, like a frequency analytics. But despite this, the camera finds all the leaks that you need to find. So the camera is with the exception of some very, very tiny small leaks that are not, for example, happening often in compressor detection, the camera is able to find really, really tiny leaks, and our sensibility thresholds are the best ones in the market, right, of acoustic. So this will be shared with you, so you will be able to see this, right, in the presentation. So I don't know if you have any questions about the competitors. We can discuss about it. No?
Not for the moment, David.
Yeah. Yeah, partial discharge, we are talking about the same phenomena. There are bigger solutions, more difficult to handle. The thermal cameras, of course, they are, they have the limitation, but basically the limitation is on the timing. So as the thermal cameras can be extremely good for the partial discharge detection, where they are already creating some thermographic phenomena, some change of temperature, we can actually detect them, the partial discharges, much earlier. And the UV cameras, of course, they are really good in some specific cases. But I will say that as well as with thermal cameras, we are talking about complementary solutions, right? So customers can have both of them if they need, because they might actually be needing them in different situations. I will say that if we are talking about the flux solution, then maybe the most important thing to consider when we are facing flux, which is a big competitor for us, is that we have the double number of microphones than them, and this is actually allowing us to have a better quality of the analytics in partial discharge, much better quality. Then we have a filter selection with only 3 filters that makes it really easy. And they need to select manually the filters, and that's really thorough and kind of a bit of a complex thing to do. You need to understand a little bit about the filtering and the sound. So in our case, our camera is much more easy to use, and then they are double-handed and more heavy, so they are heavier. So basically, that we have a one-handed solution. It's a big advantage for us. So we continue with Fluke in terms of software. Maybe the best thing is that we give the severity assessment, and we have cloud and offline software options. So we have both, and the severity assessment is kind of a big asset for us, as you know. I think with the thermal imaging cameras, I will say that the main thing is they are good, but we are talking about complementing solutions. So basically, they can complement each other. They can be used in different situations depending on the customer needs. I didn't go through so much competition, but I would like to discuss a little bit now further on how I do the demonstrations myself, if it's okay with you. Do you want to have a 5 minutes break, and then we can continue and have an open discussion about the demonstrations?
You decide, David, as you wish.
Yeah, maybe we take a couple of minutes and then I come, because then I can visit the workroom.
Okay. Okay.
Is it okay?
Then
yeah, thank you.
Everyone, please stay online.
Thank you.
Have a break and stay online. Thank you. Talk to you later.
Hello? Hello?
Hi, David.
Hello.
Yes, yes.
I am back.
Okay. I hope everyone is back also, so you can go on with the presentation.
Yeah. Well, I mean, the presentation is over.
Mhm.
But let's say that I will give a couple of recommendations when it comes to the air leak and gas detection. The camera, of course, we do have a thing called sonic tester device that actually helps you to do demonstrations where there are not leaks. So you have a sonic tester is a device that recreates the sound of a leak or a partial discharge, and it helps you to show how the camera works. But my recommendation is that when you go visit a customer, please try as much as possible to visit premises and to show the camera in action. So when we're talking about leaks, it's a very powerful tool to just show it a little bit like how it works, like it's really easy to work the camera. You start it on and do a couple of like settings, like for example, we're talking about the currency or the energy cost, and then go to premises and show how it works, because it's really powerful. The second thing is give it to the customer. They can actually handle it, and they can be taking the snapshots of the different leaks they find. You can be discussing with them openly. Of course, it's very often that they're very common that they want you to do a presentation, but do the presentation, but then try to do on-site demo, like a demonstration in facilities. Another important thing to do that we use a lot is the reporting, right? So when you finish a presentation of a customer and you have shown everything that you can show about the camera, to follow up, it's really nice to just print, for example, a PDF report, selecting the snapshots that are related to this specific customer, put the logo of the customer company, and send this report as a, well, no, I don't know if it's a present, but as a, like after the visit, you can show, okay, these are the leaks that we found. You can fix them. They can do whatever they want with them. And this is what you will have if you buy our solution. And this is, I think it's a really nice move, and it's actually often leading to an open discussion with the customer, so can actually help to sell. When it comes to partial discharge, we are talking about the same. So please visit facility if it's possible. Sometimes it's a bit more challenging with the partial discharge because sometimes they have, for example, a small electrical facility where they have a substation, and there are a couple of partial discharges, but they are kind of harmless. So it gets difficult to show the customer the value of it. So that's why I will always recommend you to go through the analytics, the severity assessment. If you have any, and you can have any ready. So if you have any ready kind of snapshots with critical partial discharges to show to the customer in the case you don't find any critical partial discharges. And this will actually help the customer to understand that it might be important for them to have the camera. And also the same, like please send the report to them afterwards. Then in terms of the well, yeah, I mean, I had something in mind now, but sorry, I was trying to, yeah, in terms of demonstrations, because you might be visiting some fairs and exhibitions. The acoustics solutions are already in the market for a while, and you will face them there. So we don't have to do anymore so much big education on the customers to believe that this is working well. But still, you, as I said, you might find some people that are skeptic with it. Anyway, in any case, you will be able to provide them with a lot of information and proofs that that this is a working solution. And in most of the cases, you will find that the FLIR Si124 is an extremely nice kind of like the perception from the customer side is that this is a really good solution. So I think it's a really nice solution to show and to demonstrate in exhibitions and fairs as well. I will share also customer uses as an example. We need to put them in, like they need to be like under the FLIR documentation frame. But we will show them with you, of course, and you will see how they, how they are used in different industries. But in my experience, if we think about the sales themselves, there are two different paths often. Like one is related on customers that they just want to buy one camera, and they might actually buy more cameras if the size of the company requires to buy more units in the future. Those are, you can have a lot of customers like this that they want 1-2 cameras and that's it. And then you have, of course, the tenders like public or invitation tenders where you will be able to attend. And then on those, our cameras are very powerful because then there is not any subjective perception. So there is an objective data sheet where you will be able to show how powerful the camera is and how well proven our technology is. And there is another business which is kind of not secondary, but it's not direct customer business, and how is well, they are direct customers, but they are not like the end users at the end of the day. Is to sell cameras to service providers, to those companies that actually visit your customers as well, the ones that are not having the need, for example, enough size to buy the solution, or they don't have time for it. And they want to buy the leak detection service once or twice per year, and they pay a certain amount, and for them it's kind of hassle-free, right? So they pay money, they get the leak reporting, and they fix the leaks, and they do it every 6 months, for example. So those service companies are also your friends, because they buy cameras from you, they can be your good customers, and they can actually be a good promoter for those customers that at some point they consider that, okay, we want to buy this camera that our service provider is using. So I will recommend to explore that kind of vertical as well. And I don't know if there's any other question or anything to discuss. Please let me know. I'm here to help.
David, question from myself, but I also getting it from my partners, sir, and just forwarding them to you as they are. The largest question is the important question is about application for leak detection. So you see, this partial discharge for my sales channel partners attending this webinar, it is more or less clear where to go with partial discharge. So these are the camera for utilities, electrical utilities, power distribution, power transportation companies.
Yeah.
So that's more or less clear. That's it. But for the leak detection, can you describe maybe a little bit more the typical profile for the customer? Where they gonna do this demonstration to get the deal down? I mean, what are the cash core for the leak detection in your from your experience?
Yeah, the leak detection, if we divide in between compressor and gas leak detection, in the side of the compressor detection, there was something a bit surprising for me when I started to work in this solution, that the compressor is used much more massively as I actually expected, or much more like in a broader way as I expected in the industry, right? So you will find a lot of companies that have a big amount of compressor use in daily basis. So manufacturing industry, wherever they have chains, they are actually using a lot of a lot of compressor. Any kind of wood processing, paper production industry, food processing, fruit production, they will actually be able. They use a lot of compressor. But even in industries that are not exactly classified as well as I was saying, like they use compressor everywhere. In many cases, in the manipulation, like packaging departments, they use compressor because they actually need to use compressor for the machines to convey the products and pack them and so on. So, one resistance side might be that in some places, if you contact a contact person from a company, they say, okay, we don't know if you use so much compressor, because they don't even know in some cases. So I would recommend to check a little bit around the company. They have, like, in different departments, they are using compressor, but especially the maintenance professionals and the energy managers, that some companies have energy managers, right? So energy and maintenance professionals are the ones that are going to lead you to the place where you will be able to find how much compressor they are using, and if it's actually relevant for them or not. Naturally, there might be some industries where they use a little bit of compressor and the camera is not relevant for them. But maybe in those cases, it's relevant to actually have some service providers that, or you even provide services. You sell services, I don't know. You can sell services to them, or you can relate to a service provider that is your customer to sell them compressor detection services. But yeah, is the market, in my experience, for compressor is much more bigger actually for partial discharge.
It is bigger,
much more bigger.
Okay.
In my experience, is huge. It's like everywhere they're using compressor. We are actually working in car industry, in food processing, in clothing or textile industry, so in everywhere they are using compressor.
Yeah.
Of course, sometimes there may be the challenge is to find the right people to interact with, that they will know, okay, yeah, we are using compressor and we have a problem because we are spending money in this. But I will say that the formula here is a mixing, or like a combination in between energy, so maybe energy manager of the plant, or energy director, or like the people who is taking care of the energy consumption, and maintenance. In the gas detection, is a bit more straight because the gas is well known. So like the metallurgic industry, in food industry, in the gas industry, like as an industry, gas is an industry itself, a vertical. You will find that gas leaks are not only representing money, but also representing a risk, and that's kind of a clear, straightforward case. But yeah, so that's, in my experience, that's why I have seen in my market.
What kind of trade show it is better to attend to sell leak detection camera? Do you have an answer to this?
I will say that the best trade shows that have been in terms of success is the ones that are maintenance trade shows.
Maintenance trade show.
Yeah, and then some industry-specific, very niche and small trade shows where the industry is very the industry is a very kind of comprehensively using compressor. Example, or gases. Example, if you go to a trade show that is very niche and small, or not very big, but is actually looking at gas, industry, it might be that you have a lot of potential customers there, even though it's not the biggest one, but it doesn't matter because the quality of the contacts is very high. Then if you go, for example, to a specific trade show where they are working in, for example, wood processing, like, this furniture building industry. We have, for example, in the UK, in the United Kingdom, we have as a customer Howdens. Howdens, this company, right? It's a kitchen manufacturer, right? In the UK. So it's the amount of compressor they're using there is incredible. They have 5 factories, I think.
Kitchen manufacturer.
Yeah. Yeah. And they have 5 factories. I've been in a couple of them, and they use compressor everywhere in the production facilities and also in packaging and so on, right? But this, I remember that the leaks were, many of the leaks were over 1,000, 2,000, 3,000 pounds per year in cost, and they have leaks everywhere. So basically, they spend a lot of money and they waste a lot of money in energy in compressor. That's why if you go to a very niche, for example, kitchen manufacturer or furniture manufacturer with technicians, of course, like trade show, where people that are actually taking care of the maintenance or energy or whatever, it might be very niche, but it might be very high quality in terms of like lead generation for you. And then in general maintenance.
What I would typically do, I mean, if I had a demo unit, I mean, it could be very efficient just to visit trade show, maybe not having my own booth, but just having a demo and approaching the booths of the different manufacturers, and you may introduce proactively the product to them. And I think in the area like trade show hall, there are lots of air leakage because they're using lots of pipe within the HVAC installation. So I think that would also work, right?
I tend to agree with this. We have done it actually ourselves. So visiting trade shows and not having a stand or booth, and then just visiting stands and showing the camera work. My only concern with this is that the result can be excellent, but sometimes can be a bit, depending on the trade show atmosphere, it can be a bit difficult to grab the right people in the booth.
Oh yeah, yeah.
So my only recommendation for this, if you want to do this is a really clever strategy approach, of course, but I will try to beforehand to contact the right people in the companies that you're planning to visit in the trade show, because there is normally a list of participants.
Absolutely.
So contact them and say, hey, we have the solution. Can we have a coffee? Can we show it to you? Because then you might actually have a much better quality of the result. But yeah, I think it's a really good approach.
Yeah, thanks. Thank you.
Thank you.
Ladies and gentlemen, any other questions from you with regard to the materials you have seen and what you have heard so far? Seems like no more questions.
No questions. I need to share the use cases. We can check them together, Dimitri. Right?
Say it again, please.
Now the use cases of the industrial industry, like our industrial use cases, we can share them later on. We can share this presentation as well, so for everyone.
Okay. Well, it's up to you. It's up to you, David. You can share
Well,
now.
I mean, yeah, I mean, it's fine. It's a,
Okay.
it's a generic presentation I have prepared for this, but it's like I think it's very it
Yeah.
might be useful for everyone to have it.
Okay.
And then we continue from here. I'm happy to help as much as possible and try to push sales in the regions. Of course, I will be happy to help.
Okay. Great. Great, David. Thank you.
Thank you. I will go back to Zoom now. But yeah, I will share my face again. Sorry for this. Thank you very much.
Thanks.
I don't know if is there anyone else with questions, or we just going to close the call now.
I think that's it.
Okay.
That's it,
Okay.
David.
Hey, thank you, and it was a pleasure for me. I hope it wasn't too boring to be listening to me for so long time. But thank you, and as I said, I will be very glad to help as much as I can. So yeah, don't hesitate to contact me. All right. Well, if you have questions when you start working with the cameras, and we will be here for you, of course. Yeah. Thank you.
Thank you, David. Thank you, everyone, for your attention and time.
Bye.
Bye-bye.
Thank you. Bye bye.